Welcome and welcome back. In today's video, we're going to show you an easy way to find your hips in the kettlebell swing. But really, why are we even doing this video, Roger? Is it that hard?
It is actually. It's something that beginners struggle with very, very frequently. When you swing a kettlebell, your pelvis,
okay.
It needs to move up and down, and it needs to move forward and back. People are usually really good at moving it up and down. It's how we squat. It's a lot less complicated for people to find, but the forward and back motion can be tricky. So that's what we're going to focus on today. First, we need to talk about where your hips actually are. So there's a very, very common notion that they are where?
Here, buddy. That's where my hips are at, right?
So
I feel them.
That's the pelvis.
I have long legs.
And when people say, put your hands on your hips, that's what they mean.
And you dip, we dip. Okay.
But the problem is that's not where we want to feel the motion. Right there, if you focus on moving there, what you're going to do is probably move through your back. So what we're talking about is where the femur goes into the pelvis, which is lower. So the way we do this is put your thumbs in your belly button, move your middle fingers down towards your junk, and push straight back. That's where the bones are actually going into the pelvis. If you look at the side of the pelvis, you've got a socket, and then the femur has a head and then a neck, and then goes down like that, and it moves like that. So the pelvis is actually kind of held together and pinched by the two femurs. That's what's holding you up, but they go into the pelvis right about there. So this is a really big deal for a lot of people. They have no idea where they actually move. This alone can be a game changer.
And now you know for sure.
The next thing we need to think about is how we organize. And what I mean by that is what are the points that are really important to pay attention to when we swing kettlebells? Actually, when we do anything with kettlebells or anything with weight, we need to pay attention to where the feet are. That's the point where we interact with the ground. That's where our force comes from. We can consider a lot of different technical things, but right now what we're focused on is how do we move around these points? These are really important points to move around, especially because that's how we balance. So we've got to consider these points. The drill is going to keep that in mind as well. It's pretty simple. What you're going to do is grab a stick of some sort. We've got one right back here.
If you don't have a stick of some sort, you can use a broom.
Whatever you need.
Okay.
Whatever you need. What we're doing with the stick is we're creating some rules for you to move. Rather than thinking about it, overanalyzing it, follow the rules, and you should be able to figure out how to move naturally on your own. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the stick, and it needs to be in contact with your leg. It can never leave the leg. So there's always got to be contact. So,
rule number one: contact with the leg.
So put it right across the middle of the thigh there. Now he's also going to pull back. This is rule 2. There should be some tension. He's pulling back on the stick. He's using his upper back muscles in order to do that. So keep the chest wide, pull the stick back into the leg.
And I think if you keep your hands like this, you're going to be more apt to pull it back. If you grab it, you might pull it away.
Absolutely.
So if you press it with your palms flat against it, you might have better luck at keeping it against your body.
Now what we're going to do is we need that reference point. We need that how you're organizing your swing, how you organize around the floor, and that's the middle of the foot. So the last rule that we need to pay attention to is we need to keep the stick somewhere in this range here. And we don't want it to move forward over the toe. If it does, he's either going to come away entirely or he's going to get too much knee bend, and we don't want that. So not that you don't want to bend your knee in your swing, but that's not what we're doing now.
Yeah.
Okay? Stick against the leg, pull the stick back into the body, keep the stick over the center of the feet, and I want you to move, remember those points, I want you to move your butt back like you're trying to close a car door with your butt. Now there's a good chance that it'll come forward a little bit as it crosses the knee. That's totally fine. He's still in that margin. He's not coming too far over his toes. Okay? Once you get to the bottom of that position, I want you to give the stick a really strong pull. I want you to push your feet into the ground like you're trying to stand up, but don't actually stand. Now, do you feel pretty strong there?
Yeah, I feel strong. You couldn't even push me over if you tried. Told you.
So we're in our strong position, and all I want you to do is the same thing. I want you to keep the stick over the foot. I want you to pull back against the leg, keep the stick in contact with the leg, and simply stand up. How'd that feel?
It's a miracle. Feels great.
The interesting thing about this is we both know how to do this. We've done several
Million. Let's go ahead and put it in millions.
million, 84 million swings each.
That's good.
So we've done a lot of these. And often when we get drills from coaches who have already done the drills to death, they're like, oh, this is a great drill. It doesn't make sense to beginners. I use this all the time to teach people. It usually takes about 3 minutes, people with no workout experience whatsoever. The external focus, the changing the environment, the changing the rules really gives them something concrete to focus on, rather than, you know, the common, oh, well, I want you to move your hip and not your spine. You know,
Like this one, this awkward one right here.
we don't, just for the record, we don't teach the dowel on the spine for a variety of reasons. Most of the time, though, is in order to get in position to do this, people end up extending. So one, you have to have a fair amount of mobility in your shoulders, which a lot of people don't have. But to do that, you see this creates an arch, and it does in most people.
And I can still just bend like this.
we don't like the excessive arch, because it does actually take up available motion that you could be using your hips. So we don't want to do that. So we don't do that dowel drill for that reason.
Screw that.
This is very simple, and it works for beginners.
Yeah, one thing I also like about it is that when you're in this position, you're starting to understand that tension. That tension is going to require to keep that bell, you know, especially in the backswing, connected to your body, and all these other connection points. Is like Roger mentioned, pushing up through the ground but not really moving. That creates more tension, and that's a key element to actually getting that swing as well.
The last thing I want to point out is with the stick over the foot. I mentioned this earlier, this is a really critical part in kettlebells, or a really critical point is over the feet. When the bells are going to be, when you want to move them, when you really want to accelerate them, they're going to be over the feet. When you want to return them, let's say you're doing a swing and your swing comes up, let's come up all the way. So once you get back in that, go ahead and get back in that float, the arms are going to reconnect here. This is where he wants to move, okay? Notice where the bell is. The bell should be over the foot before he moves back. He's reconnecting his arms with his mass. If he moves back here, okay, his arms are not in contact, okay? The bell's not over the feet. He doesn't have this contact. He's moving away from the thing that's going to protect him. He's moving at the wrong time. The bell should be right over the feet when he wants to hinge back. So really, really important point in kettlebells. Always think about keeping the bell close to the foot with the swing, with the clean, with the snatch. This also helps you learn how important the foot is.
Cool. Anything else?
Nope.
All right, I think that's it. Go ahead and comment below if you have any questions, and we'll do our best to answer them. And stay strong. Weird. That was weird. That wasn't as weird.